Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to the Lord of the Rings the Adventure card game. For the first time in several episodes, we're actually starting at the beginning of a quest instead of starting at the end of the previous quest, after me playing off screen, trying multiple times to succeed. The number one quest for this third campaign was actually pretty easy, although somewhat confusing as far as what you actually were trying to do with the artifacts, and I think maybe that was intentional, but almost certainly the second time you play the game, the first quest, you would know exactly what to do. Speaking of playing the game, my most recent achievement, of which I have, I think, about maybe 18 of 73, so still nowhere close to getting all the achievements, but the most recent one I did was called Well Traveled, and you completed these two campaigns with 6 different heroes, which is probably pretty easy to do, as long as you just have like one group of 3 heroes for the deck that you built here, and one group of heroes for the deck you built here. And I imagine it actually breaks down even more to the point where you really only have to have a different group of heroes for the last quest for each one of these, because otherwise it would be very complicated to figure out how that would really work, because you can change your heroes in between each quest. But the point that I'm trying to make, poorly, is that achievement, which is not that hard to achieve, has only been done by less than 4%, about 3.9% of players on Steam. So that gives us a reality check, certainly, as far as the solo content, in that nobody has made it this far, really. Only the most elite top 4% of players have bothered to even try to get through the main story. And in this case, that is only doubly compounded as a bad omen, in the sense that nobody is online playing either. There is a possibility with online games that everybody just plays the online game part and doesn't ever play the single player part. Counter-Strike Go, almost certainly, if there is a single player content there, almost certainly very few people are going to play that. Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, games very much designed to be played with multiplayer, so not too many people will do the single player versions of those. Call of Duty, Halo, lots of those types of games that have heavy focus on multiplayer, but that would mean more people would have had to have been playing this game on the multiplayer level too. So for this instance, we just know nobody played the game. They got frustrated long before they made it to this point and quit. And I definitely can see that. That's the kind of sanity check that I needed.
He would summon someone to take it for a proper burial first light. But word had already spread of a murder. Townspeople were assembling in the common room to discuss the events of the evening. Ratchet was new town, doing a business selling trinkets. He said acquired his many travels. Barliman trust him though. He had the look of a man on the run, glancing about as if he'd caught out at any moment. And now he was dead, stabbed in the gut from behind. Barliman guessed whatever haunted Ratchet finally caught up to him. But who, and why? The folks now congregating in the air, already pointing fingers. Several town ne'er-do-wells. Barliman counted each off on his fingers as they were mentioned.
So the first quest here was around finding out who was stealing the gems. We found out it was the guy who has now been killed, Ratchet. And now, so it is moved from a detective find the criminal mystery to find the murderer mystery. By what I'm... The phrase sanity check, in case I didn't make myself clear enough there, is that I was questioning whether or not I personally was just doing a real bad job playing this game, and that's definitely not the situation you want to ever be in. You want to have people or have indicators to tell you, hey, if you're struggling at this game, other gamers on your same level are also struggling at this game. In fact, if I am getting an achievement that less than 4% of players have gotten, that tells me that I am pretty much in the top 4% percentile of skilled players who have played this game compared to everybody else. Which that's a terrible statement to potentially think, since I find this game very difficult.
The tracker any job questions asked. Susie the Spider, a broker of information gathered with a network of paid watchers. Tord the Troll, a giant with hands as big as your head, which he put to good use as high muscle. Wolf Pelt Jake, game hunter, though Barliman wasn't so sure. Game was always he stopped.
Any of these characters might be the one who did the deed. Or none of them at all.
Barliman announced, joining the conversation. He turned to indicate the new strangers in town, the adventure from afar.
These folks were the ones that returned the stolen goods. They might be useful again.
Clearly, it's worth pointing out here that I have lost a lot of interest in this game too, and that I'm barely paying attention to what's being said in the story. I think some of that definitely can be attributed to the fact that when I think Lord of the Rings, I definitely am not thinking murder mysteries. Yeah. And I said it a long time ago, but I think it bears repeating. If this is the kind of side story a chapter might go through in Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit, it would have been better for Tolkien to have just made more books and serialized his Middle-earth world, because it definitely, in my mind, would make a lot more sense if there was a book set in Middle-earth that was kind of Sherlock Holmes style mysteries, and then the main plot lines follow Bilbo and Frodo. But when you have chapters in a book, there's, I think, a fair assumption that's made that every chapter in a book would be connecting to one main group of protagonists, whereas this feels like Tolkien is just being silly and making a bunch of ridiculous names. And that's true for Harry Potter too, is that there's just a lot of ridiculous phrases and names and spells. But also, Harry Potter gets a pass because it is a book series designed for little kids. Whereas Tolkien in Lord of the Rings, even if it was designed for little kids, has gravely been adopted by older people, adults, young adults, more. Maybe teenagers get into Tolkien, but for the most part, I think fans of Lord of the Rings now are pretty old, and even when they first read the books, I think they're pretty old. I wouldn't give a 14-year-old Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit to read. It would probably just be too much words overall.
The innkeeper raises a plump finger at
you third
companions.
You lot have been nominated to murder Mr. Ratchet here.
It appears that you've been deputized to take on this duty whether you like it or not. Barliman asks the crowd.
Anyone know where he was stabbed?
Most people stand silent, but a few voices call out.
In the stomach!
Laughter.
In an alley by the west gate!
One yells, while another claims
No, it was over by the warehouse!
Another person swears that Ratchet was attacked in front of the prancing pony. Clearly, there's no consensus. Barliman ponders a moment, surveying the crowd before turning to you.
You'll just have to look about. The town gates are closed. So start with the west gate and work your way in.
You gather your belongings and head out into the pre-dawn darkness, determined to find whomever killed Ratchet. You suspect Fernie is involved, but he snuck out while Ratchet came in the front.
I've completely forgotten who Fernie even is. I assume that's the other bad guy. So Fernie gets the artifacts and leaves. Somebody else stabs Ratchet. It seems pretty obvious that you would want to start searching around the bar called the Prancing Pony first and work your way towards the gate in a quick fashion to see if there's any evidence that somebody fled after stabbing him, because it would be very easy for somebody to be escaping as you investigate. Yeah, 3 lines of 3 paragraphs is too much. And once again, you have yet another field. You know what really is a failure here, in my opinion, is the fact that you have all these cards already made, and you have a field made here. Instead of just selling a deck building game, it would make a lot of sense to reuse these assets for some other Lord of the Rings card game, or just reuse these assets for a generic fantasy card game. Alright, I think I want to kind of hold on to everything else, so we'll start with that. Two progress per player to every bolster. Find clues of the murderer's identity. So it does seem like the Dark Alley, the Prancing Pony are 2 locations you can just search. Resolve every objective or deal 3 to the enemy. Seems like you could probably just do that. Revenge. Again, the text is just too small. So that's really killing my experience around this quite a bit too, is the fact that I am not really being given the full story. This is my vision.
Go. Boss! Ratchet.
Oh, that was the absolute worst time to play that. No, there is a decent argument to just resetting. Okay. Let's I guess hit one of these and try that. Okay. So we'll take the power.
Get him.
And then we'll activate this. And we'll resolve every objective. We find a clue. Pause now if you want to read that. 3 suspects remain. So, are we getting rid of block characters? So it seems to me like the case is that you're going to go through several sections, and whoever the murderer is one of those 4 characters, but it could be a different one every time.
You leave the town centre, having eliminated the first suspect. You continue your search to the outskirts of Bree.
We might do a section where we eliminate 2 people.
Its timbers creaking slightly in the morning wind. Nearby is an old warehouse where merchants and farmers bring their goods for market. You decide to check both locations to uncover more clues as to Ratchet's demise.
Here you have a particularly short paragraph, which makes me suspect that you go in different directions in different circles here. Now, I guess the next question certainly to ask is, did I completely waste everything as far as these? Another investigation. If anything, it might very well have been a smarter move to build up our forces, but maybe these guys don't have ranged. So can I do anything? I think doing that's probably our best bet to start with. We'll put this here so he heals. And then we'll put here so he heals himself. Guess we don't really want to kill that character at the moment. Do we have enough to eliminate one of these? No, we can't even attack those until we have cleared the enemies, it seems. If I was to do this, okay, I guess you do this. And then probably don't want to draw cards. Put that in defense mode. Stole my healing. A lot of this still feels very much like it's just going to come to luck. Like, what attachments can I possibly put on a character? Alright, that opens the door for all of that. And there's a lot of background sound effects that have some real problems. They sound too much like they're happening in the real world, and they repeat at an irregular pace a little bit. This guy, I guess I could start attacking here. Let's just do it. Gives us a clue. Seemingly, we need both clues. We could also, I guess, try to attack these things to get more artifacts and more items. Okay. Go ahead and put this in defense mode. Heal this. Go ahead and throw this on the field too.
Servant.
Reduce each player's cards. Yeah, let's just do this. And then do this. So, counter and guard versus block versus ranged. But this one deals 1 damage to every character at the end of each turn, so let's get rid of that. Like, we're just trying to pick the weakest of characters to end up fighting. So we would want this block. Let's see, could we get one of these done? Let's do this one. So that did heal everybody. Well, there's nothing more we can do, I don't think. So let's travel. And then we'll just discard that one card, which is in the big loss.
With one more suspect eliminated, you feel that you're beginning to grow into the role that you've been assigned. Your search has brought you back into the centre of town. The market square lies before you. Merchants and farmers have set up their stalls, while the earliest purchasers are already looking for the best deals of the day. The sights and smells remind you that you haven't yet eaten in some time, and your stomach begins to rumble. You push the hunger away for now, as you consider the other lonely town centre, the prancing pony, where Ratchet fled to when he died. You resolve to scour each location thoroughly for clues and bring Ratchet to justice.
It literally makes no sense you would leave an area just to return to an area. Bad logical writing. I really wish you would have in these campaigns, in the middle, just a section where you could refill your health and bolster your forces. We did see that in the one expansion campaign, so they did eventually create that idea, but they certainly didn't implement it for any of this. Okay. 2 progress to every thing. I think might be worth it. The other option would be 2 to every hero. It's not a terrible thought. Okay, we have one character. Let's see. +1 to each of your heroes. Draw a card for each hobbit. Yeah, this isn't like the worst time to do that. Otherwise, I put Bilbo's cloak on this character. Right. Okay, that didn't work as well as I would have liked it to, but whatever. Let's go with our main... No, we've got to kill everybody, so now was actually a terrible time to play Intuition, wasn't it? Right, well, that can kill that. And then with that, I'll heal that. I'll heal that. We still can't attack anything until we kill people, so it's probably best to kill that one first. That attack. Just got rid of all my attachments. It's a shame. Okay, we'll heal that one. And then we'll heal that one. Deal 4 damage to one bandit, I guess, is what we'll do. No, let's do 2 progress points, because apparently we didn't have to actually kill that. So we're at 4 here, and 2 here. So if we do that, and then we do that, really like to put that on him. that. Do that. Do that. Block -1 to a random character, or eliminate the guy who has counter and guard. Obviously eliminate this guy. He has more attack, same health. Which weirdly seems like you're still going to go forward with this process, and yeah, seems weird. Every time you play a card, one random damage. If I was to play this, so I don't think I want to. So yeah, it seems like we're gonna just eliminate the other suspect, and then we're gonna end up with some other person being the suspect, it seems. That. Get that.
Hand over the loot.
Hit that. Zero suspects remaining. Complete the goal for the location, now travel. Is it worth it to kill something when we kind of know we can kill something? I think it probably is.
You show me the way up, or I'll skin you.
So, want to heal that and heal that. And then think you travel at that point.
Wolfpelt Jake the Hunter must be the killer. Or at least you think so. Based on the process of elimination.
That would make sense.
Barlaman informs you.
He's a mountain of a man, good with a blade. He makes camps in the Chetwood to the north and east of Bree. But be careful. They're out in that area.
Your fellowship makes its way to the Chetwood. Not far off the main road into the trees. You find Jake sitting by a campfire with a rough-looking groom.
Yeah, I get it, Ratchet.
He says, thumbing his axe.
And I make good coin for it. What's it to you?
You resolve to bring him to justice, but aware of the outlaws nearby, clearly ready for a fight. They raise their weapons to stand against you, and you realize that justice isn't easily meted out in the wilds of the Bree.
So, now that we've gotten to this point, I now remember seeing this in the walkthrough that I saw online. And yes, whoever you pick is going to be the person you fight, and almost certainly they will change the narrative so that that person is the killer. Although it's probably going to be a case that any of those four people are the killers, but they're still going to be paid by one overarching bad guy that we'll see, I assume, in later quests. Which this almost certainly confirms that this narrative in particular is not from Lord of the Rings. or The Hobbit. You can't have multiple possibilities. Well, you could write a book that way. I just don't think Tolkien did. Which then makes me really question whether any of the quests that we've done were actually based out of the narrative of The Hobbit or the Lord of the Ring books. It would kind of make a lot of sense that none of them were, considering we're not seeing Frodo or Bilbo being mentioned, and these stories do feel somewhat different. Now, what do we have to do for the actual challenge? Is that Bill Ferny character. So, we can ignore end effects. Which is going to severely increase our everything. It's just a massive amount of end effects. We need to kill both these characters. We don't have anybody on the field that would take revenge and just kill a character either. We don't really need characters with power. So, once again, we have another different style of playfield. Okay. Okay, who is important to keep alive? I mean, this is the last battle, so there might be an argument to just keeping this one character alive. Particularly if he has bluff and we kill this character quickly, then his one attack can't really do too much. So that ignores all the end effects. Okay. Well, there's nothing else to do with the power. So start to heal. Our heroes back up. Weird. That guy died, but it didn't seem to. Yeah, I can only do that twice per round. Can I? Okay. Guess we could get through this.
Don't mess with us.
Okay. So the move is clearly to kill this. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this guy
I am a servant of the secret
and
fire.
deal 3 damage to this character, and then attack with this character. And we'll put unexpected courages on any character that can benefit from it. And then we'll replace that character since he's fleeting. And then we'll kill that. Summon 2 random minions, location specific. So we gotta just kill this character now fairly quickly. I don't think that's gonna be too hard. Absolute worst case scenario here would be that I would have to just replace some people. There's a weird wood chopping sound effect that's consistently playing in the background, but it still feels very weird. And that's quest complete.
You ain't got nothing on me.
Fernie cries as you bind his arms. You've confirmed the murderer and apprehended them, but you suspect that Fernie was involved and likely ordered the crime. The murderer looked down at the ground, tight-lipped. Fernie must have some sort of hold on them, ensure their silence. Bree had existed since the fall of Cardland without any kind of central authority. So upon returning to the town with the prisoners, the town forms a council of prominent locals to decide their fate. The murderer is made to surrender their belongings and leave Bree, never to return. They're also to leave the Bree lands, but with no authority beyond the town itself. There's no way to enforce this. You search Fernie's home, but cannot find the missing items. Without any hard evidence, Fernie manages to get off with only a fine for general nuisance. However, you manage to uncover a letter hidden under a loose board, which reveals that more is afoot here than you first thought.
See, what's funny is that wood chopping sound effect is still playing. It kind of stops, and then it comes back. And yeah, the story continues, and I assume the story would be exactly the same regardless of who we had fought. There is probably a decent argument. There it is again. Yeah, there's a decent argument to going and doing these quests multiple times, but 4 times is crazy.
That gas stirred up the hornets and made off to the covered so far. We'll make sure they get there. We're close to getting the last bits. Don't delay. You know what happens to fail. She doesn't forget or forgive. D.
So you have this V female character, and then the writer of the letter is a D character, and it's read in a male voice, so we can make an assumption that it is a male character. But yeah, it's crazy to have 4 potential characters when you're only going to get 3 rewards for completing the quest. You get your first completion, your second completion, and your third completion. We'll go back and check that just to see. So we've unlocked some more cards we'll never play with. far as challenges, we completed the quest with every hero in play. In at least one location we unlocked travel in the first round. We did not accomplish that. That'd be kind of hard to do. We did resolve the bolster that relates to the murderer, and we did defeat the final villain before his inability granted him 6 attack, which would have probably been a nightmare if it got to that. And then in the final encounter, defeat every villain in the same round, which that would have also been difficult to do. And then we get our standard 1500 fellowship points for beating it once with those characters. Yeah, nothing different here though. There is no 4th reward. So to play and see each character, which probably does give you some kind of achievement, considering how many achievements are in this game, you would on that 4th time have to just play and succeed for no real reason, no extra reward. Which, come to think of it, it is a little crazy that there isn't some just generic reward once you defeat something 3 times. If all of a sudden on the 4th plus reward you get 5,000 fellowship points for just being consistent, or grind just because you wanted to grind, that would be kind of nice. It might break the balance of the currency, but I don't think there really is a balance of the currency in this game anyways. So it seems like in this next quest, the Unsettled Bones, in Road's End in the Undercity, it does seem to me like they're getting into more of a fantasy thought at that point. So we had 2 quests, 2 fairly easy quests that were more mysteries, but as the game is designed, it all ends up in just fights, same old fights, with same old strategies. Nothing really special in that quest to even talk about. And increasingly I'm losing interest in the game anyway, so I'm not paying attention to the pop-up text. I'm barely paying attention to what's spoken. This narrative and story certainly doesn't feel particularly outstanding in any aspect. Anyways, I guess we'll have to leave it at that. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to support me further, there's some links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.